Hello, I'm shooting this video. My name's Dave, and I just subscribed to Rayman's comic channel. I usually do vinyl stuff, but I thought I'd switch it up a little bit. He has a 100 subscriber contest going on, showing comic book covers, and I like the art on both vinyl and comics, so I thought I'd enter it as well, just to show, supporting the community and everything. I found out about it through Andy's Vinyl Den, and I watched some of his, vinyl videos, and he did this comic one too, which is where I heard about it. And at any rate, I started collecting comics when I was younger, and I bought stuff like this right here, which is Turok, Son of Stone. And I don't know who the artist is, because a lot of Gold Key didn't put on the cover or the inside of the comic who the cover artist was. So, but I just always liked the cover of it. And of course, when we moved from East Texas to West Texas, my mom threw out a lot of comics, probably the ones that were more beat up, but she kept a few. This was one of those. Here's another one called Spangled War Stories. I don't know if that's a Joe Kubert cover. I mean, it could be. But again, I couldn't find anything on the cover or on the inside of who did it. But always liked dinosaurs and stuff like that, and Army Men too. When I got back into comics, I started collecting more stuff. I liked stuff that was kind of pulp oriented. I always liked Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and I liked Star Wars, which were all kind of inspired by old Pulp Republic serials with the cliffhanger. Stuff like Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, Commando Cody, Tarzan, and stuff like that. This is Grimjack, and the cover's by Tim Truman. And he's done quite a bit, but I've always liked the way he drew. He did another kind of a post-apocalyptic comic called Scout, who was an Apache Indian roaming the post-apocalypse. This is more of a science fiction and fantasy comic by Tim Truman about a guy here. This is Grimjack here, and I guess you'd say he's kind of a vigilante or something like that. That kind of is a gun for hire, but yeah, interesting comic. This is a Tarzan comic, and again, I don't know who the artist is, but always like to cover him fighting the crocodile along with Cheetah, as the natives are in the background throwing spears at him. I know Jesse Santos did some early Tarzan comics, but I don't believe he did the art for this or the inside. Like I said, when I got back into comics, I kind of got into pulps. This, you can see large praying mantis attacking the lady. This is a cover by Bo Hampton, and it's a mini-series, 6-issue mini-series about these explorers, kind of space opera, I guess you could say. Of course, this is a Jack Kirby cover for the first New Gods. And I always like Jack Kirby's stuff. Back when I was a kid, and I still like it now. It has an interesting look to all of his stuff. He has a certain style that you can just tell it's a Jack Kirby from the looks of it. And it looks like with this world here, or planet here, he did a little collage in it as well. Of course, I like horror comics too. I like science fiction and horror. This is Charles Burns' cover to a series he did called Black Hole, and it was about an infection or a virus that was spread amongst teens that would sometimes mutate them. But yeah, interesting artist and series by Charles Burns. This is David Mazzucchelli, who did Year One of Batman. He did the artwork, and Frank Miller did the story for it. But yeah, the artwork and the cover, the art on the inside and the cover both are by David Mazzucchelli. This is a Pulp inspired cover. The artist is Michael Coulter, I believe that's how he says his name. But it's sort of a meet-up between Batman and the Shadow. I like the Shadow comics too. This is Velvet, story by Ed Brubaker, and the art is by Steve Epting. And Velvet is sort of a espionage type comic, sort of a female 007. Real interesting comic if you can find it. I'm sure it's collected into a collected book by now. But yeah, I like the way that he's one of the newer artists that I like watching is Steve Epting. This is a Swamp Thing comic. The cover is by John J. Muth. I think it's Muth or Muth, I'm not sure which. But I like the way he does his watercolors, and then it's kind of collaged down here on the bottom. It looks like a photograph on the bottom. But started out reading Swamp Thing, the Alan Moore runs on Swamp Thing, and sort of followed it, you know, after Moore had stopped writing them. Along with Steve Bissetts did the artwork, and I think John Tolenben inked them. But I followed them shortly after their tenure. And so anyway, this is a watercolor type cover by John Muth, or Muth. This is another one that my mom kept from my youth, Mystery in Space. Just like the way this alien looked, kind of a quad alien. He has kind of a bird leg down here with a lightning bolt, and green on one side and blue on the other. And you got this other alien in the top here with 3 eyes, and of course the heroes are at the bottom of it. But always like things that were kind of, you know, out of the ordinary and bizarre, and always like that album cover. This is a reprint of the Human Torch. It could be the first issue, I'm not sure. But it's got the Human Torch in it, and the Submariner down here in the bottom. And I'm not sure if this is World War I or II, but at any rate, the artwork is by Alex Schoenberg, and he did a lot of covers for Timely Marvel back then. So anyway, I'll leave a link at the bottom of the video if anybody else would like to enter and subscribe to Rain Man's channel. He picks up new comics all the time, and he enjoys the covers, and you can tell he's really into his hobby. And if anybody wants to enter, you can do so. Like I said, I'll leave a link below, and enjoy reading.